Okay, so we mentioned Parshas Korach. That Korach attracted with him some of the most important people of Am Yisrael, even Nachshon ben Aminadav. Now, what exactly his argument was, there are so many different opinions, but just to discuss a few of them. One of the things Korach said was, Ki kola edo kulam kedoshim. Meaning, he said to Moshe, you know, Moshe, sometimes you have communities where people don't know the Torah, don't know right from wrong. So I understand you need a rabbi, you need a leader. But this is a community where everybody is rabbis. Kikola Edo Kulam Kedoshim. Everybody knows everything. So you know what we don't need, Moshe? We don't need you. We don't need you. This is a yeshiva, a kollel, where everybody's a rabbi. That's what Korach was basically saying. Kikola Edo Kulam Kedoshim. We don't need anyone else. We don't need anyone else. It's shocking, the different opinions as to what was being said and how it was being said. I'll give you another example, very interesting example. Some people say Korach was complaining that Moshe took all the honor himself. He was the head of the Nevi'im. He appointed Aaron, his brother, as the Kohen Gadol. When it came to appointing someone to be the Nasi, he skipped Korach and went to the youngest son, El Sophon, someone from that family. So Korach was resentful for that. Others say that Korach said Moshe is making bad choices. He sent out the spies. What was the result? 40 years in the desert. A good leader wouldn't make such a mistake. That means if he's making such major mistakes, there's a problem here that we need to understand. Then the Chassam Sofer has something fascinating. The Chassam Sofer says that Korach attacked Moshe personally. Lama tisnasu al kahal Hashem. Why have you elevated yourself? The Chassam Sofer says that Korach said to Moshe, listen, Moshe, there are many different important jobs in the Jewish community. There is someone who is the head of the yeshiva, so-called. He's the Gadol Hador. How do we appoint a Gadol Hador? That means Moshe Feinstein was the Gadol Hador. How was he appointed the Gadol Hador? Was there a committee? Did they have an election? No. No. We don't have chief rabbis. In the Ashkenazi community for hundreds of years, we don't have chief rabbis. But a Gadol Hador is not someone who's appointed. It's a natural progression. People spoke to people who spoke to people about how great Moshe Feinstein was. He became the Gadol Hador. No different than Reb Ruvain Feinstein, or Reb David Feinstein, or Reb Henech Leibowitz, or Rabbi Ruderman, or Reb Aaron Kotler, or now Malkiel Kotler, or or Shmuel Kamenetsky, or the Novominsker. These are people. They don't go out there. There's not an election. We don't vote on Tuesday to see who gets the title of Gadol Hador. So Chassam Sofer said to Moshe, you're the Gadol Hador. You're the Rosh Yeshiva, you're the Posek, we got all that. Who made you the Melech? Moshe had a din of a king. And the Chassam Sofer says that Korach said to Moshe, it's always been the rule that whoever is the Gadol Hador is not the king. And if you're the king, you're not the Gadol Hador. David was the Melech. Some people say he wasn't a Navi. He had Ruach HaKodesh, but he wasn't a Navi. Shlomo was a Melech. He was not the Gadol Hador. Never did anybody wear both hats. And Korach said, I'll explain to you why. If you're the king, there's no compromise. There's no compromise. What you say goes. Kings are strong. You go against the rule of the king, what happens to you? You get killed. Okay? If you're the posek, the Gadol Hador, you're not that personality. You're kind, you're generous, you're soft. Rabbi Trenk, Rabbi David Trenk passed away last week. He was known as an unbelievable educator. He loved every student. A melech doesn't have the luxury to love everyone. He's the king. He has to have distance. He has a position. A Rebbe loves everybody. Everybody goes to the Rebbe's house. Everybody, is close to the Rebbe. So Korach said to Moshe, the nature of the king and the nature of a Gadol Hador are separate, totally different. You can't be both. Decide what you want to be. I'll be the other one. You want to be the king? I'll be the Gadol Hador. You want to be the Gadol Hador? I'll be the king. Make a choice. You can't have both. Now, the Chazam Sofer explains that Moshe was such an honor, such a modest person, that the truth is he did not make himself king. Hashem appointed him king. And it wasn't a king in the traditional sense. His children didn't take over. It wasn't as if Moshe was the king. That was not traditional. Moshe was from Shevet Levi. The kings were going to become from Shevet Yehuda. So the Chazam Sofer says that Korach's mistake was that he thought Moshe did all this. Moshe didn't do any of this. He didn't make himself the Gadol Hador. He didn't make himself the Adon HaNavim. He didn't make himself the king. Everything was from Hashem. So it wasn't as if Moshe did any of this. None of this came from Moshe. And that's why Moshe got up there and says that I take anyone's mule, a king can take whatever he wants. Shmuel, the same thing. People started to say, we want a king. So Shmuel says, what, did I do something wrong? Did I take something that didn't belong to me? That means a king can take. Moshe says, I might be a king, but I don't act that way. I don't take what doesn't belong to me. So Korach had accusations, but they weren't so simple. Now, just a few thoughts. The parsha is called Korach. Reb Chaim Pelagi, okay, he refused to call Parshas Korach, because he said, V'shem Rishoim Yirkav, an evil person, his name should rot away. So Reb Chaim Pelagi referred to Parshas Korach as Parshas Ben Levi, because it says, Vayikar Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahos ben Levi. So he would say in Parshas Ben Levi, he would never write the word Korach. The Kaf HaChaim used to refer to it as Parshas Ben Kahas, not Korach. So the Sephardi Rabbonim didn't like the name Korach. Rashi, which I think was also Sephardi to some degree, but Rashi maybe more Ashkenazi, Rashi refers to Korach as Korach. He brings it down in the Psukim, he brings it down in the Gemara, Maseches, in different Masechtos. He brings down, and the Ramban the same way, he says that, he called Korach, because there's a tradition that eventually, the Asi level, Korach will be a big tzaddik, and Korach will gain a tremendous amount of position. So therefore, because it says, Tzaddik Hatom Yifrach, the last letter is spelled Korach. So therefore, he said that he would be there. I once told you this years ago, but it's in the Yotzer Pelos HaTorah again. The Yismach Moshe, Reb Moshe Teitelbaum, the Satmar Rebbe, a few generations back, he was once giving a talk to a bunch of his Hasidim, and he said to them, I know that my neshama is a Gilgul, and has been in this world 3 times. Okay, now when the Satmar Rebbe says his neshama has been in the world 3 times, in front of 1,000 people, the Hasidim says, Rebbe, tell us, when was the first time? So he says, the first time was in the desert. I was there with Moshe and Korach. So they all said, whoa, you were there with Moshe and Korach. Boy, you must have been on Moshe's side. And he says, no, I was not on Moshe's side. He says, you were not on Moshe's side. Whose side were you on? You on Korach's side? He says, no, I was in the middle. And because I was in the middle, my neshama never made it to Olam Haba. I had to come back again. So his son, the Yitab Lev, said to his father, Tati, he says, are you telling me that you were in the desert and you were not on Moshe's side? How could that be? How could you not be on Moshe Rabbeinu's side? And he says that had you heard Korach talk, you would not be on Moshe's side either. That's a shocking statement. That's a shocking statement. it says, Sha'alu hayitav lev hayitochen, is it possible? Lasos kach neged Moshe Rabbeinu, that you should have been there against Moshe? Shivu, he answered him back, Sha'atolo hoyisa yodea et Korach. You did not know this Korach. This Korach was a really good talker. Nice. He was a big Talmud Chacham. I mean, he did right. He had a kapota. He wore a gartel. He had pays. He wore a spodek. He says, "Ilu hoyisim makir also." If you only met him, just if you would only meet him, lo hoyisi shol kach, you would never ask me how I could not be on Moshe's side. You see, we don't get that picture. There's a pirush that says that Moshe said to Korach, tomorrow we'll see who's right. Why? Because the man would fall tomorrow. We'll see if the man falls by my tent or by your tent. If the man falls for you 2 miles away, we know that you were wrong. So I have over here, it says that the Chassam Sofer writes that because of Korach's machlokas, he says, the man didn't fall the next day. Hashem was so angry about the machlokas that no man fell. Everybody went hungry the next day. Nobody had man. That's pretty shocking also.
No man?
Nobody had the man.
Wow.
Everybody went hungry.
I have a question. How Rabbi know this season what I'm really good and how you know what's going on?
The answer is I have no clue. I suspect that if you're on a very high level spiritually, you can be in touch with your neshama. And you can know from what your neshama desires as to what you failed in a previous lifetime.
And you saw how
that.
Korach is, everything is so like
and he had that memory, however it was, I don't know. The Chassam Sofer says we have another Korach in the Torah. One of Esav's children was called Korach. And he says you got to be very careful how you name your children. Because Korach had the name of Esav's son, that's why he was who he was. That's why he could do the things he did. So the Chassam Sofer says that Korach was one of the Alufei Esav, one of Esav's leaders. And therefore, Lo Yikra Adam Libno Shem Adam Rasha. Don't call your child after a Rasha. Now, they always give a famous story that there was a person that had a baby boy. The mother wanted to name the child Shlomo Zalman. And the father was very upset because Shlomo Zalman in the family was not a frum person and he didn't keep kosher, didn't keep Shabbos. So he went to his Rav and said, what should I do? My wife wants to call the baby Shlomo Zalman. So the Rav says, listen, Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was a big tzaddik. So give the baby the name Shlomo Zalman. Your wife will think you're giving it after her father. But you should have in mind Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. That will protect the child. Nobody knows what's in your mind. So you're going to give the name of the baby after Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. That was his suggestion as to how to name the baby. But it is fascinating that according to some opinions, poor guy's cold, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll warm you up. We'll get your blood boiling. Give us a little bit of chance.
So in our time, nobody puts Korach name, right?
Korach is not a name that is a common name that we would have today. And yet, B'nai Korach lo mesu. According to one opinion, Korach's machlokes began on Monday. It was Monday morning that he got angry. Because of that, Monday was the day in creation that it doesn't say ki tov, because the heaven and earth were split, was machlokes. What is the shir mizmor, the B'nai Korach? What is the shir of Yom on Monday is Korach, is a song for the B'nai Korach. So it's interesting that how this happens all the time. Reb Moshe Meir Weiss, he has an interesting take on a lot of things. He said as follows. He says, some people are allergic to peanuts. You have allergies. You ever go on a plane, they have allergies. I have a granddaughter who's allergic to cashews. Very allergic. She has to carry an EpiPen. Some people are allergic to sesame seeds or to milk. He says, in his family, he told his kids, we also have allergies. We're allergic to machlokas. It's like peanuts to us, If someone is getting involved in a machlokas, into a fight, he says, my kids know we go the other way. We're allergic. It's an allergy. He says the word machlokas spells chelik meis. Someone is dying. When you get into an armed argument, you get into dying. Now, it was interesting. A week or two ago, someone approaches me, and he says to me, we want to do in shul one of these programs where do not talk in shul. Have you ever seen in the Jewish newspapers, they have a full-page ad, do not talk in shul? Okay. The truth is, you shouldn't be talking in shul, right? In shul, you're supposed to be davening. End of story, you daven. You're not supposed to be talking in shul. But this particular shul, the Gabbai wanted to institute the program, a do not talk in shul program. I said, very nice, okay, very nice. I'm not sure what it has to do with me, but that's very nice. Then he says, and you know what, it's a skula. I said, oh, it's a skula. You know what a skula means, right? Skula. What's it a skula for? Shidduchim. We have people in the community who are elder singles. It's a skula that they should find a shidduch. And it's a skula that they should have a refuah shalem if someone is sick.
So it's
a gula.
It's like a must, no?
Гула это как талисман.
Like a good luck charm, I didn't hear this skula. Yeah, great. So again, I said, that's very nice. What does this have to do with me? So he said to me that there's someone in the shul who does a lot of talking. And I heard that he goes to your shooting and he likes you very much. So he probably would listen to you if you told him to stop talking. So could you tell him to stop talking so we can institute this program? Okay. So I said to him that I know this guy very well. He's not going to listen to me. I know you think he was going to listen to me. He's not going to listen to me. Just because he attends some of the shiurim that I give, and he calls me, but he's not going to listen to me. I said, maybe the motivation behind this program, right, is not the Yetzer Tov. Maybe it's the Yetzer Hara. Maybe the Yetzer Hara is whispering in your ear, let's do this program. And it's a school for singles and everything else. So there should be a big fight in shul, and everybody should be polarized and have a big machlokas about this program, since the halacha is you're not supposed to talk anyway, and all you're going to get from this is a big fight. Maybe it's the Yetzer Hara whispering in your ear. It says, no, it's a program. How could it be the Yetzer Hara? And I was thinking about the Satmar Rebbe, Korach, sometimes that Yetzer Hara is dressed up like the frumest of the frum. And what is it trying to do? Just create a machlokas. That's the goal. There's a famous story with Rabbi Kamenetsky that he was in shul, and a father was davening with his kids, and every 2 seconds the father was going to the kids, no, pointing, no. Finally, Rabbi Kamenetsky said to him, he says, you want to know how I taught my children how to daven? He says, yeah, how'd you do it, Rebbe? He says, I just davened. They watched me, and they learned from me. I never went, no, and anything. So, maybe hit the siddur less and daven more. Your kids will learn how to daven. Because all your kids are learning now is no. It takes a Rosh Hashiva to understand that not everything is what it appears. There are things that come out that are, you just don't realize. You think you're being driven by a positive thing, but it's not. It's a negative thing. You never know what the Yetzer Hara is. Now, there's a story, I was online, I published a story. In the city of Krakow, who's the rabbi in Krakow? The Ramah. During the reign of King Sigmund II, there was a tax collector, a Jewish guy named Shlomo Zeligman, who was a Kohen. And this Shlomo Zeligman decided to go out and date a girl who came out that she was a divorcee. And he wanted to marry her. So he went to the Ramah and he asked the Ramah to perform the wedding. The Ramah said, I'm sorry, I can't. It's against the Torah. So what did he do? He was so angry, he went to his friend the king, and he told the king, there's this rabbi in Krakow who has a license from the state to perform weddings, who's not performing the wedding. And the king went berserk and sent a contingent of soldiers and set up a chuppah in the town square and said to the Ramah, you will either perform this wedding or you'll get beaten up or killed or arrested. And don't think that couldn't happen today. I'm licensed by the state of New York to perform weddings. What happens if two people want to get married, two men, or two women, they want to get married, they're Jewish, they want a chuppah. Could you perform a chuppah for such a wedding? The answer is no. Could you perform a civil marriage? The answer is you'll be obligated. It's like the guy in Colorado didn't want to bake a cake for such a wedding, and they sued him all the way to the Supreme Court. He happened to have won, but I don't know what will be. What I'm trying to say to you is it's not so simple. It gets complicated. The civil laws. So anyway, the Ramah is now being escorted by soldiers to the middle of the city of Krakow, the town square, where the chuppah is set up, and these two people are there, they want to get married. So the Ramah says to the crowd, he says, he bought them, move away from these two evil people. Run, he says, run! And all of a sudden the earth shook and opened up from underneath, and the couple was swallowed up by the earth and covered over.
Wow.
That's what it brings down. The ground itself had opened up beneath the couple, and they were swallowed up by the earth itself. People were running in all different directions. The soldiers ran back to the king and told him what had happened. The king ran to the Ramah, begging him forgiveness and apologizing for putting him in such a situation, and said to the Ramah, whatever you want, just ask for it. And the Ramah says, you know what I want you to do? I want you to build on the spot where these people were swallowed up, like a mound, and put a fence around it. No names, just a mound and a fence around, which is there today. And the king says, why do you want that? So the Ramah says, so Kohanim should not walk over and get tummy. Here's the king, and the king is offering you and saying to you, whatever you want, I will give you. And he's saying to the king, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. But you know what my concern is? My concern is not necessarily me. My concern over here is that no Kohanim should become Tomei. That was what was more important to the Ramah than anything else.
It's still now also?
Yeah, still now also. What? In the city of Krakow. Okay. What? Now, I've been to Krakow. Now,
Poland.
I'll give you another example. It says, for example, listen to this. And then again, it says, Ho'ene ho'anashim ha'hem tenakir. Dathan and Ephraim said to Moshe, even if you cut out our eyes, you blind us, you cut out our eyes, we're not going to follow you. So Rashi says, Afilu atosholeach l'naker es einenu. Even if you send one of your messengers, one of your evil doers, with a knife to cut out our eyes, we're not going to go after you. We're not going to follow you. Now, it seems a little strange that they would think Moshe was the type of a person who cuts people's eyes out. It's not the normal thing. Not things that we normally do. So some people say that what they were saying was that in those days, the eyes were the leaders. Moshe said to Yisro, come with us, and you will be our eye. You'll be our eyes in the desert. You'll guide us. So that's what people were saying. Even if you kill Korach, because he was rebellious, so you take away the leader, we're not going to follow you. That's what some people say. Some people say it refers to the people of Canaan. That even Moshe, if you're so powerful that all the Canaanims are blinded, we're not going to go into Israel. And the Canaanim did that because we know by Shimshon they cut out the eyes. So they were pretty strong, in their accusations against Moshe. They were pretty strong against it. But what they were trying to say and why they were trying to say it is still a little bit obscure. But they were pretty strong in what they had to say. Rabbi Fran brings down that the two worst character traits are people who are jealous. Because if you're jealous, there's no boundaries. And of course, people who are Balei Machlokas. He says that a person who always argues with everybody, when they die, the bones rot away. He says, I know this because Yosef said to the brothers, take my bones out of Egypt. Why my bones? Because my bones are not going to rot away. I was never jealous of you. That means Yosef was saying, as much as you were jealous of me, I was never jealous of you. So my bones are never gonna decompose. They bring down that machlokas are so terrible that even children die. Korach and all the little children of Korach's family died. Normally children are not subject to these things, but when a person is involved in machlokas, it's like a fire. And when the fire runs out of control, it doesn't discriminate. They once bring down a story with the Chofetz Chaim, that there was a certain mayor in the town who was Jewish, who got into a big fight with his neighbor. And his neighbor said to the mayor, I'm going to tell the king, the czar, I'm going to tell the czar that you used your position as mayor to get Jewish boys out of the army, which in those days was a terrible crime. I mean, it was punishable by death. So the wife says to her husband, don't do that. He says, why not? Let the mayor get what he deserves. So he says, but our son got out of the army through the mayor. He saved our son. If you do this, our son will have to go to the army. He says, I don't care if our son has to go to the army. As long as I get that guy, I don't care what happens to our son. So he says that, I don't care if they arrest our son. I don't care if they arrest me. I don't care if they punish all of us. As long as the mayor gets what is coming to him. He says, machlokes is something that once it gets into your bones and it comes, there's nothing that you can do about it. It just eats away. It eats away at you to the point where you just can't survive. Now, there's a famous Gemara of Baba Basra. Famous Gemara. The Gemara says that Rabbi Bar Chana was once crossing the desert. And an Arab came to him and says, Rabbi, he says, put your ear to the ground. Tell me what you hear. And he puts his ear to the ground and he hears a voice, Moshe emes, v'torasa emes, v'anachnu ba'doi. Moshe is emes, his Torah is emes, and we're false, we're liars, we're fakers. And that was Korach's voice from Gehenna. And the Rabbi Bar Chana was shocked, and the Arab merchant said to him, Rabbi, you should just know, this sound can be heard every 30 days on Rosh Chodesh. Okay, we just had Rosh Chodesh last week, right? Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. Anybody hear the noise? Did you hear the sound? Maybe not. He says you can hear the sound.
In the desert, right?
In the desert. I guess where they were crossing.
We can find this place if we want.
Well, go on Rosh Chodesh, go into the Sinai desert, put something to the ground and see what you can hear. I don't know. Sometimes you have to have ears to hear and eyes to see. The Bava Rebbe, he explained, he says, why every 30 days? Why Rosh Chodesh?
Mm-hmm.
He says, what happened on Rosh Chodesh? We blessed the new moon. Why do we bless the new moon? Because the moon gets larger and smaller, larger and smaller. Why does the moon get larger and smaller? Because when they were created, the moon was the same size as the sun. What did the moon say to Hashem? Listen, it's not right that we both should be the same size. Maybe someone should be bigger, someone should be smaller. So Hashem says, you're right, you're going to get smaller. Right? So what did the moon do? He was looking for a fight. The moon started the first machlokes. So on every Rosh Chodesh, it's the time when the moon is fighting and he's the smallest. Korach has to say, Moshe emes, v'toraso emes. So he has to admit that Moshe is emes and Moshe's Torah is emes. V'anachnu v'adoi, and we are liars.
But some sons of the Korach they survived, right?
Somewhat?
Korach's sons will survive.
Some people say that Korach's sons did teshuvah and survived, or found a different place. We know they survived because Shmuel HaNavi was a Levi from the family of Korach. Okay?
That's why I was thinking.
And that's why Korach thought that I will win. Because the Gemara says that Shmuel was equal to Moshe and Aaron. It's based on a pasuk that we say during Kabbalah Shabbos, that Shmuel was equal to Moshe and Aaron. So Korach figured, if my great-great-grandson Shmuel is equal to Moshe and Aaron, me, for sure I'm going to be equal to Moshe and Aaron. I can get away with that. You have to remember, the 250 of the Nisim, when the Beis HaMikdash was being dedicated, a lot of them brought Ketores. Now, they didn't bring it on the inside Mizbeach, they brought it on the outside Mizbeach, but that was part of the gifts that they brought was Ketores. So the Nisim felt that what's the test? Whoever brings Ketores. Well, we've done that before and we survived. So what's the problem? There won't be a problem. They didn't all think they were going to die. One person's going to be the Kohen Gadol. 250 people apply for the job. Whoever gets the job is the Kohen Gadol. Everybody else is going to drop dead. Would you apply for a job like that? It doesn't sound like a very good job, to me. It sounds like a very dangerous job. Not something that I would.
It's like Russian roulette.
Yeah, it's even worse than Russian roulette, right? Like you have 250 shots and 249 of them have bullets inside. There's only one without that. What are the chances? So, the fact that they all applied, it's an amazing thing. They all wanted to go out, like Nadav and Avihu, go out in a great fire of Hashem. Imagine you're bringing Ketores. You see, it leads you to believe that they were tired. They were in the desert. They knew for the next 40 years they were going to be in the desert. They didn't want to be in the desert. We have a concept. You know what the concept is? Suicide by cop. Have you ever heard that term? Suicide by cop. A person takes a fake gun and points it at a police officer. What's the police officer going to do? He's going to shoot you. So you don't want to take your life, you don't want to kill yourself, but you want to kill yourself. So you do something crazy, and then you force the policeman to shoot you. That's called suicide by cop. It sounds like these people had a death wish, they just didn't want to take their lives. So they figured, if I'm going to go out, I might as well go out that Hashem takes my life in a fireball straight to Shemayim. Maybe they thought something like that, I don't know. But it happens that, it's like sticking your finger in fire. No matter what happens, you're going to get burnt. A person doesn't stick his hand into fire. That's what machlokas is. Machlokas is that, you stick your hands in the fire and someone is going to get hurt. And the truth is, they were really starting up not so much with Moshe, they were attacking Aharon. And Aaron, everybody loved Aaron. Moshe, there were people who loved him, people who didn't. But when Aaron died, everybody says that they loved Aaron like impossible to imagine how much. I was sitting on something. It's going to break. But that's okay. He says everybody loved Aaron. So that was tremendous. Everybody loved Aaron. So he was starting with Aaron, thinking that Aaron was the weak link. But Aaron was not the weak link. Aaron had a tremendous love of Klal Yisrael. There's a medrash that says there was something like 22,000 children born in the desert, all had the name Aaron. Everybody named Aaron, their name. So it says it's what it is. Okay. There's a famous debate, which is brought down in Shulchan Aruch as well, not so much with Korach, but the debate was that, let's say, for example, Korach, all the people who followed him, the 250 that died by the fire, could their wives get married?
Yes.
Well, in order for the wives to be married, you often need to see a dead body. If the fire consumed the bodies and nothing was left but ash, so it's a little bit hard to, how are you going to matter it?
But you saw when they fall down, everybody.
So could you see it? Or for example, those that got swallowed up in the ground, so you don't know if they're alive or not alive. So he brings down, for example, there's the famous, in Shulchan Aruch is brought down, the wife of Eliyahu Hanavi. What happened to Eliyahu Hanavi? He was walking with Elisha, and a chariot came down from Shemayim and took him up to heaven. So he became now a Malach Hashem. Could his wife get married? I don't know if she ever wanted to get married again. So the Gemara says that a woman is called an Ashes Ish and not an Ashes Malach. You can't be married to an angel. So, they bring down another story, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. He was once playing games with the Sultan, and he wanted to see his Chelik and Olam Haba. He jumped in. Okay, it was a great story. What about his wife, that she was in earth, left behind? Could she get remarried if she wanted to? So they of course, the answer, yes. So it says over here, Neshei Belue Korach, the wives of those who were swallowed up with Korach. The Tiferes HaGershuni writes that they could not get married. Since there was no proof that they died, they just got swallowed up by the ground, and the ground closed over them. And just like Bnei Korach Lo Mesu, they were in the ground. He says, without 100% proof, they wouldn't let the women in the desert get
But there's
remarried.
no chance that they're going to come out from it.
Yeah, that's right. There's probably very, very little chance that they were going to come out, and probably they never came out.
But there is a chance, right?
But without concrete proof that they were dead, it's very, very hard. I remember there was once, Rabbi Vadi
So
Yosef
that's not the same thing as a missing person, right? The person
No,
is
this person is different. Rabbi Vadi Yosef, there was a submarine in Israel, the Nerio, that sunk in the Mediterranean, and they never raised it, they never found any bodies, but no one ever escaped that submarine. Rabbi Vadi Yosef let their wives get remarried. He also had another, that if you find, for example, let's say a soldier gets hit by a shell and gets disintegrated, you can't recognize the dead body. But there's the dog tags. Could you get married based on you found the dog tags? They're near a body that you can't recognize. Rabbi Vadi Yosef said yes. He says a soldier never takes off his dog tags. He sleeps with them, he showers with them, he swims with them. He never takes off his dog tags. That's his only identification. So if you find the dog tags, that's proof he's dead. Concrete proof. That's what he believed. He mattered.
For the Korach, concrete means you have to put concrete on.
Concrete. For Korach, it was took on a brand new meaning more than anything else. Some other things from the Yotze Plus Torah that I found very interesting. It says that they had this half shekel coin, the Maxis shekel. So you know what image is on the shekel? It's a stick with almonds. Whose stick is on the Maxis HaShekel? Aharon. Aharon's stick, that blooded almonds, is the image they put on the half shekel coin. So everybody gave a half shekel coin every year. When they counted it for the Korbanot, it had Aharon's stick on it, that he was the Kohen Gadol. He brings down from the Ramami Pano that it says that he once heard from doctors, from medical people, that almonds is a refuah for people who get angry quickly. That means if you have a temperament where you get angry very quickly, one of the solutions is to eat almonds. It's supposed to calm you down. And he says we learned that because everybody goes angry with Aaron. So
Almond understood.
it's okay, she tried. And it says that the almonds was there to calm people down. So he says that's why it blossomed almonds. Let me tell you another tshuva that's interesting. We have it this week, all about the Maxis HaShekel. Gotta be faster. Okay, listen to this story. You ready? Listen to this story. It came to Rabbi Vadi Yosef. It's brought down in the Abiyah Omer. The Abiyah Omer brings this down. The Abiyah Omer in Chelech Ches, Siman Lamed Beis, brings down a story of a couple that were married, and she became pregnant. She had a baby boy, and the husband was so excited because they were going to have a pidyon haben. So after the bris milah, he planned the pidyon haben, and there was this whole, they were going to throw this big party, firstborn son, pidyon haben, the 5 shkolim go to the Kohen. The wife then went to Rabbi Vadi Yosef, and she said to Rabbi Vadi Yosef, I have a problem. Before I met my husband, I had a boyfriend, and I had relations with this boyfriend, and I became pregnant.
From the boyfriend?
From the boyfriend. And as the baby grew, I had an abortion. So the baby was 3 or 4 months, I had an abortion. And then I became a choser b'tshuva, and now I married this fellow who doesn't know my past. But this boy that we just had is not a firstborn, it's my second child. I was pregnant before. And therefore, there's no pidyon haben allowed. Now that's okay, he can give 5 shkalim to the Kohen, there's no crime in that. But he's going to make a bracha, asher ki rishona b'mitzvosav v'tzivonu al mitzvahs pidyon haben. And that bracha is going to be a bracha levatala. Do I have to tell my husband that we cannot have the pidyon haben, which will definitely hurt my shalom bayis?
Counting the first baby that wasn't born, like how long? That doesn't count.
It does
Make the
count
abortion.
because she had an abortion. So this is not the first child to go through the birth canal. A baby already went through the birth canal. It may not have been a viable child, but it went through the birth canal.
He said don't say, right?
So Rebbe Vadia goes back and forth whether making a bracha for no reason is also from the Torah or midrabanan. So he says, Machlokas haposkim im isur bracha levatala havi midrabanan and mikraz asmachta ba'almo or isur from the Torah. So he says that we go after the Rambam and the Maran, the Shulchan Aruch. And he goes back and forth and he says that in his opinion, a bracha levatala is only midrabanan, is only rabbinical. And that's how we paskin, he says. And therefore, to create a machlokas and shalom bayis, he says that's also from the Torah. So he said to her, don't say anything. Go through the simcha, have the pidyon haben, let your husband make the bracha, let everyone answer amen, and life will go on.
And after that she can say it?
No.
No, не сказал, потому что это
So it was bracha
He's not of the opinion.
She's making the big sin.
браха леватала.
He says that the sin of creating a machlokas is greater than the sin of a bracha levatala. Remember, Hashem said, take my name and let it be erased for the purpose of shalom bayis.
Isn't the redemption of firstborn also Torah?
Yes, but in this case it doesn't apply because there's no mitzvah of redemption for firstborn.
Если Бог сказал, возьми
Because she had a baby.
чтобы он был.
Right.
So therefore there's no mitzvah. Now we have someone going to go through the whole mitzvah. Okay, so you're going to throw, my husband's going to throw a party. That's okay. He's going to give 5 shkalim to the Kohen. That's okay. But he's going to make a bracha. Asher ki yishon b'mitzvah v'tzivonu al mitzvahs pidyon haben. That's a bracha levatala. So Rebbe Vadia Paskin better make the bracha levatala and keep the peace.
If she said, after he said, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchut, does it count?
She could say whatever she wants, but her husband doesn't know. Her husband is all excited
No, I
about
mean,
this
is
pidyon
it
haben.
still going to be Baruch Levatala if she said, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchut? Or he should say.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam V'ed is a way to back out of the bracha levatala. It doesn't change the fact that you can't lock the door after the horses are stolen. It's you can't unring the bell. That's the term they say.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean, just
that comes from the Navy SEALs, by the
Save
way.
her husband from Baruch Levatala.
The Navy SEALs when you train to become a Navy SEAL, it's a very rough course, and 90% fall out. In the middle of the compound where the camp is, there's a bell. And if you want to quit, all you got to do is go over and just ring the bell, and that's it. You're out, and you can quit, and you can go back to your unit, So like if you're a Navy SEAL commander, you always tell people, never ring the bell, don't quit. But the saying goes, you can't unring the bell. Once you ring that bell, then you change your mind. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Done deal, huh?
It's a done deal. You can't unring the bell, or you can't lock the barn after the horses go.
So to save the marriage, it's okay to do the bracha and everything.
So Rabbi Vadia was of the opinion that to save the marriage and to avoid a machlokas, which, right. Now, it's interesting, because what he's really saying to you is that if you have not everything in your background you have to reveal when you get married.
This was young.
You're not obligated
young
to tell
couple,
everybody
right?
your deep, dark secrets. necessarily. I mean, you have to ask a Shiloh, depending what your deep dark secret is, but
There was a young couple.
it was a young couple.
When you said machlokas, what machlokas over there?
Well, between the husband and wife.
Machlokas is like arguing or
Or
it's,
arguing. He's going to say, you didn't
it's
tell
not
me you
true.
were married before, you had a boyfriend before, he didn't realize. He assumed that she was a from person. He thought she was always religious. She wasn't. It becomes a problem. So how much you have to reveal is not always so easy to do. It's interesting, there's a Gemara in the Durham. The Gemara in the Durham says that the sun and the moon, they got really into this machlokas because they started the first machlokas. They came before Hashem and they said to Hashem, if you don't defend Moshe against Korach, we're never going to shine again. We're not going to go into the sky, we're not going to do our jobs. Okay, that's pretty bold to tell the boss, I'm not going to do my job, Hashem could fire the sun and the moon and make a new sun and the moon, but that's okay. So Hashem says to the sun and the moon, really? Every day the nations of the world worship idols, and you shine in the daytime and you shine at night. You're not worried about my honor, you're worried about the honor of Moshe. Moshe is more important than me. Why are you shining for the Goyim if they worship idols? So they bring down that they were trying to say to Hashem that Moshe, the Gedolei Yisrael, their kavod is like kavod Shemayim. That means when you respect Moshe, it's respecting God. He says, it's not that we put Moshe ahead of you. You and Moshe, you're the same, you're inseparable. Moshe is the Adon HaNavim, he's the giver of the Torah. So of course he's the same. We respect him, we respect you. It's definitely more than anything else that could be wanted. They say that Moshe said to Hashem said, I'm going to destroy everybody. So Moshe said to Hashem, one person sinned, you're going to destroy everybody? It's not fair. So Hashem says to Moshe, one person sinned. He was chutzpahdik. What did everybody else do? Nothing. They let the chutzpah go. He says that makes them guilty. He says if somebody stands up and is insulting to the Gadol Hador, to the rabbi, and you don't do anything, you don't say to the guy, what are you doing? He's the rabbi. Well, he's not my rabbi. He said, well, he may not be your rabbi, so go daven someplace else. But he's our rabbi, you don't talk that way. That means if you can stand by and hear someone insult Talmidei Chachomim and remain silent, Hashem says that's as big a crime as Korach is. Don't tell me everybody's innocent. They're not innocent. They're not innocent if they can stand by and watch everything happen to different people and they don't do anything about it. So that was something else that was very, very, very much. They talk about Korach being one of the good guys. He was from Shevet Levi, he carried the Aron, he was one of the richest men in the world. The Chidah says that, that just tells you. He says that Korach, the youngest person in the family was appointed over Korach, and Korach said that was wrong. And the Chidah says it happens all the time. Reuven was the oldest, but he didn't become the king. Yehuda became the king. Levi became the Kohen. So, the oldest doesn't always get what's coming to them. David HaMelech, in his family, there were 8 children. What number was David? He was the youngest. David was the youngest. So the Malchus came to the house of David. David was the youngest. Shaul was from Shevet Binyamin. Binyamin was number 12 on the list. He was the youngest of all the Shvatim. So he says that just because you're older, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're entitled to everything. What happens is you'll see, he says, things, they don't always, they go to whoever is worthy of it, and that's what it is. He says that Yaakov wanted his name left out. Why did Yaakov want his name left out? Because Yaakov took the firstborn away from Esau, which created machlokas, and Yaakov had to run. Yaakov says, you know what I don't want? I don't want Korach using my name saying, oh, it's allowed to do this. For the sake of the firstborn, for what you think is right, listen, even my father, Yaakov, was, a Baal Machlokes, in that regard. And if it was good enough for Yaakov, it's good enough for me. So Yaakov says, people can misconstrue what that is, and therefore he wants to be left out. So it was very, very interesting. And we see from the Haftarah that Shmuel had the same way. Shmuel was also very, very hesitant. Okay, it's already almost 9:30. One last thought I'll share with you. I'm not going to give you the answer. I'll just leave you with a question. Next week in Parshas Kukas, right? Moshe gathers the people to give water, right? He hits the rock instead of speaking to the rock. He's supposed to speak to the rock. He hits the rock. Okay. How many people were there when he hit the rock and didn't speak to the rock? So Rashi says this is one of the miracles where a small place had room for everybody. All 3 million people were standing there. So the question is, this is Moshe's worst moment. Why would Hashem make a miracle that a small little place could hold all 3 million people as if everybody had a front row seat to Moshe hitting the rock? Wouldn't it have been better that to be normal? How many people would have been around there? A few hundred people. Not 3 million. This is one of the miracles where a small place held everyone. Really? Is that the best time to have that miracle? I don't think so. Next week, we'll find out why. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Father.
Almost over the